The bright studio lights of the Jonathan Ross show glimmered like stars over a polished stage, cameras rolling and audience laughter echoing through the air. What was meant to be a charming and light-hearted segment quickly turned into one of the most talked-about live television moments of the year. Meghan Markle, dressed elegantly in a cream silk blouse and tailored trousers, had agreed to appear on the show to discuss her new charitable initiative focused on mental health and women's empowerment. It was supposed to be a positive, uplifting conversation. But when Jonathan Ross decided to bring up her royal past, everything began to unravel. From the start, the tension was almost invisible, subtle but building. Jonathan greeted her warmly, his trademark humor filling the air. "Meghan, you've had quite the journey, from Hollywood to Buckingham Palace and now to Montecito. Tell me, do you miss the royal spotlight?" Meghan smiled politely, her media training kicking in. "Not at all," she said softly. "I prefer a life where I can actually use my voice without being silenced." The audience clapped, but Jonathan raised an eyebrow. "Silenced? That's quite a statement. Some would say you've had more than enough opportunities to speak your mind, interviews, documentaries, podcasts. You even had your own Netflix special." Her smile faltered. "Having a platform doesn't mean you're truly heard," she replied, her voice firmer now. "People listen only to twist your words. Especially in Britain." A murmur ran through the audience. Jonathan shifted in his seat. "Well, you can't blame the press for doing their job. You were part of the royal family, surely public scrutiny comes with the territory." Meghan's eyes narrowed just slightly. "Scrutiny and cruelty are not the same thing, Jonathan." The audience went quiet. The air was thick with tension. Jonathan, sensing the mood, tried to lighten it with a joke. "Fair enough. But come on, you married a prince, there must have been some perks worth staying for. The tiaras, the castles, maybe the corgis." That's when it happened. Meghan leaned forward, her tone sharp. "You know, it's always fascinating how people reduce a woman's worth to what she wears or who she marries. I didn't join the family for fairy tales, I joined hoping to serve." Jonathan chuckled nervously. "I didn't mean any offense, just a bit of humor." But Meghan wasn't smiling anymore. Women are always told to laugh it off, to take it as a joke. Maybe that's why people don't take women's pain seriously, especially when they're biracial, especially when they're royal. A heavy silence blanketed the studio. Jonathan's team exchanged uneasy glances from behind the cameras. One of the producers gestured subtly for him to move on, but he didn't. Instead, he leaned in, curious and defiant. "Meghan, with all due respect," he said slowly, "some people feel you and Harry have played the victims for too long. Isn't it time to move forward instead of blaming the institution?" Her hands clenched in her lap. "Blaming," she repeated. "You think calling out racism, mental health neglect, and media bullying is blaming? It's telling the truth." Jonathan sighed. "But some would argue your truth has hurt the monarchy and even your own family. Prince William, King Charles, have you ever thought that maybe they're the ones who feel silenced now?" That was the final spark. Meghan's expression hardened, and her next words came like ice. "When a woman tells her story and it makes people uncomfortable, that doesn't mean she's wrong, it means they're guilty." The crowd gasped. Jonathan's attempt at humor was long gone now. "Well," he muttered, "that's certainly a strong view." At that moment, one of the producers stepped onto the stage, whispering something to Meghan. The cameras were still rolling, but the tension had shattered the show's rhythm. Meghan stood up abruptly, her mic still clipped to her collar. "I think I've said enough," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "If this is what British television calls an interview, I'd rather not be part of it." Jonathan stood too, awkwardly reaching out. "Meghan, please." But she waved him off. "No, Jonathan. You invited me to talk about helping women, not to humiliate me for ratings." With that, she unclipped her mic and walked off the stage. The audience sat in stunned silence, the sound of her heels echoing across the polished floor. For a moment, no one moved. Jonathan, visibly flustered, tried to salvage the situation. "Well, that wasn't how I expected the evening to go," he joked weakly, but even he knew the damage was done. Within minutes, social media exploded. Clips of the confrontation flooded X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Hashtags like #Meghan walks off, #Jonathan Ross clash, and #Royal Drama Live trended worldwide. Some sided with Meghan, praising her for standing up against what they called microaggressive questioning. Others accused her of being too defensive, of turning every conversation into a confrontation. Backstage, Meghan's team tried to calm her down, but she was visibly shaken. "It's always the same," she muttered. "Smile, stay polite, and let them take their shots. Not anymore." Jonathan, meanwhile, sat quietly in his dressing room, staring at his reflection. He hadn't meant to cause a scene, but as a veteran host, he knew one thing for certain: television had just witnessed a moment that would dominate headlines for weeks. In Meghan Markle, she had once again walked away from the establishment, this time, not a palace but a stage. The next morning, London woke up buzzing. Every tabloid, every talk show, every news feed screamed the same headline. Meghan Markle storms off live TV after heated clash with Jonathan Ross. Clips of her walking off the stage were playing on a loop across major channels. Some commentators called it a powerful act of self-respect, while others dismissed it as another Markle meltdown. The split was instant and fierce. Inside her Montecito home, Meghan sat quietly at her kitchen counter, scrolling through her phone. The notifications were endless: messages of support from fans, hate from critics, and confusion from journalists. Harry, sitting across from her, looked worried. "Meg, you know they're going to twist it," he said gently. "They always do." She sighed, rubbing her temples. "Let them. I'm done pretending to be the quiet one. They wanted a headline, now they have one." Harry leaned back, watching her closely. "Still, it's not just about headlines. It's about what comes next. You walked off live TV, love. That's going to echo." And it did. Within hours, the Jonathan Ross show issued an official statement. "Greater than, we regret that last night's interview did not go as planned. Our aim was to have an open and respectful conversation. We thank Meghan Markle for her time. It was diplomatic, but the damage was done." Online, people dissected every second of the argument, slowing down the footage, analyzing facial expressions, tone, even the lighting. By afternoon, #Team Meghan and #Team Jonathan were trending worldwide. British columnist Piers Newton, known for his harsh takes, posted on X. "Greater than, another tantrum from Meghan Markle. When things don't go her way, she plays the victim card. Britain is tired of this act." But just below it, American actress Viola Davis wrote, "Greater than, standing up for yourself isn't drama. It's dignity. Proud of you, Meghan." The internet became a battlefield. Later that evening, Jonathan Ross appeared on his own social media page. He looked unusually serious, the studio lights gone, replaced by the dim warmth of his home office. "I want to clarify something," he began. "I never intended to upset Meghan. My questions were journalistic, not personal. But maybe I should have listened more, joked less." He paused, sighing. "Television is fast. Sometimes you forget you're talking to a real person with real scars. I hope she knows I didn't mean harm." It was a rare apology, understated but sincere. Yet Meghan hadn't responded. Not yet. That night, she received a call from her close friend Serena Williams. "Girl, I saw the interview," Serena said, her voice filled with both concern and admiration. "You were fierce. But you looked tired." "I am tired," Meghan admitted softly. "Tired of being dissected, tired of defending my existence. I wanted to talk about women's empowerment, and all they wanted was a royal scandal." Serena was quiet for a moment. "Then you need to own this moment. Don't hide. Speak again, but on your terms this time." That struck a chord. 2 days later, Meghan released a powerful video statement on her Archewell Foundation's official channel. Dressed simply in a white blouse, seated against a neutral background, she looked calm yet firm. "I've always believed that conversations can lead to change," she began. "But that only happens when those conversations are grounded in respect." What happened on the Jonathan Ross show was not a clash, it was a reminder that women, especially women of color, are often asked to stay polite while being disrespected. Her voice remained steady. "I will never apologize for standing up for myself. I walked off that stage because I refused to sit in a space that mocked my experiences for entertainment. That's not drama. That's self-worth." The statement went viral within minutes. Even media outlets that had mocked her the day before began to shift tone. The Guardian wrote, "Greater than, whatever one thinks of Meghan Markle, she has once again forced the world to question how it treats women who speak out. Meanwhile, Jonathan Ross, watching from his office, nodded quietly as he saw the clip. Fair enough, he murmured to himself. She got her point across better than any of us ever could. Back in California, Harry walked into the room as Meghan closed her laptop. "You've started something again," he said with a soft smile. She looked at him, exhaustion flickering beneath her calm. "Maybe. But this time, I didn't start a fight, I finished one." He reached for her hand. And the world finally saw it. The following week, several major networks invited Meghan for new interviews, offering full editorial control. She declined most, choosing instead to appear on a charity livestream, focusing entirely on women's mental health. No royal talk, no controversy, just purpose. During the event, she said something that many would quote for weeks. Greater than, strength isn't about staying in the room when you're being disrespected. Sometimes, strength is walking out and still holding your head high. The audience erupted in applause. Meanwhile, Jonathan's show continued, but something had changed. His producers noticed he was more careful, more reflective, less eager to provoke for laughs. During a later episode, when asked about the Meghan incident, he smiled faintly and said, "Sometimes, a moment teaches you more than a decade of interviews." Months passed, but the memory of that night lingered, the tension, the silence, the walkout. For Meghan, it became a turning point. No longer defined by palace drama or media battles, she began to reclaim her story one decision at a time. And for millions watching, that live TV moment wasn't just another celebrity scandal, it was a reminder that even under the brightest lights, truth has its own power.